All right, well, thank you everybody for joining. We are going to be getting started here in just a couple of minutes. We're excited to talk to you today about modern litigation calendaring in Microsoft 365, really focusing on Outlook and Microsoft Teams. So welcome, welcome. We're going to give everybody a few minutes and we'll be starting in about 2 minutes. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us. We're here to talk to you today about modern litigation calendaring in Outlook and Microsoft Teams, natively in your Microsoft 365 application. So I am joined here today with Dasha Balina, and she's going to be really at the helm driving our demo experience today. And we'll be having a little bit of a conversation as we walk you through our journey and how we've incorporated docketing inside of Microsoft 365. My name is Carolyn Groh, and I am our Chief Operating Officer here at Law Toolbox. I have been here working at Law Toolbox. I can't believe it. We're celebrating 25 years next year. Wow, I can't not believe that. And I've been with the company for almost 23 of those 25 years now, and born and raised in docketing, in a docketing world. But prior to that, I spent 7 years working out of Asia. I managed a team of people for IBM. And before that, I worked in Tokyo for a manufacturing company. Dasha, do you want to introduce yourself real quickly?
Yeah, absolutely. Nice to have everyone join our webinar. My name is Dasha Balina, and as Carolyn mentioned, I will be doing the actual live demo of Law Toolbox today. And I've been with the company for about 2 years, and I'm excited to have everyone join today.
All right, well, thank you, Dasha. So we have two very important people that are not with us today. Sad that they weren't able to join, but our co-conspirators, Dean and Rima Reyes, are both out sick today. They promised to be headliners in our next webinar that we will be running through during the second week of January, targeting law firms, and a second event targeting corporate legal. So you've got Dasha and I today, and let me kick this off and talk a little bit about what does work look like in a modern law firm. And when we look at it, and think about it, we think about it as a place where we're enabling remote work. So replacing, this idea of always having to do stand-up meetings and making work more interactive, whether that's through chat or to-dos or planner. We'll be talking about transitioning our communication and our collaboration with our team members from emailing back and forth as we prepare for depots or plan for experts, and transition towards a matter-based chat environment. The idea of transitioning briefcases to file shares, right? We used to walk into our client's office, or they'd walk into ours, and we'd have files and things to share, but we're not doing that very much anymore. And, so importantly, meeting our clients where they work. Our corporate clients are pretty sophisticated after, this last couple of years, and they're looking for a very modern way of connecting and getting work done efficiently. The other really important component that we're hearing and seeing a lot in the idea of a modern law firm is eliminating what people are calling the switch tax or the toggle tax. In fact, was at a presentation last week where it was discussed that an average person in a law firm has 1,000 clicks per day in between two different applications. They're not able to get their work done where they're spending their day, but they're jumping back and forth, which it is estimated to be almost 9% of a work day or a work year, or however you want to look at it. And the way that ability to eliminate that toggling back and forth in between applications is to bring the work that people need to get done into the place they're spending their day. And most people are spending their day, you know, in their Outlook if they're an email, or if they've started to modernize, and some of the people in their firm are using more collaborative environments where they're chatting about what's going on. They might be in Teams or Word or SharePoint, and making that work textual. And of course, especially in the enterprise space, this idea of data-powered decisions. How long are my med-mal cases taking? Well, you know, how long does it take for this judge to resolve a motion? Or how long does my law firm typically take for motions? Or how can I take all that data that is living in my Outlook, my Teams, my environment, my calendaring, all of the dates and case types and metadata, and how can I get that data back into my own data warehouse where we can really be informed about our data-driven solutions or decisions that we're making every day. So who is Law Toolbox? I know many of you are familiar with us, but have a couple of fun points to share here on this screen. We are a source of rules-based deadlines. In fact, we are one of 4 companies in the United States that provide rules-based deadlines to the market. In fact, most online practice management platforms today choose Law Toolbox to provide court rules in their applications. And interestingly, instead of embarking on what we're seeing a lot in the industry, everybody is really working hard to get into the cloud and take their technology and their workspace and figure out how to bring that full functionality into cloud. We at Law Toolbox were born in the cloud in 1998, something that we're very proud of, a native docketing cloud solution that started before people were thinking cloud. And an important part of our journey as a court rules provider, or now we call ourselves administrative transactional rules provider, was in 2006, we made a strategic decision to take those rules and provide them and become very much of an API company, bringing our calendaring to where people spend their day. And so that includes various types of legal applications that consume our deadlines and pull them in, as we talked about. And in 2013 was when we launched our first Microsoft 365 add-in. At the time, it was called Outlook add-in. And just 1 year after that, as you can see on the screen, 2014 is when we said goodbye to a COM add-in. So a traditional plugin that you go and you install in your Outlook. We had a year's worth of experience in as a modern Outlook add-in. And fast forward to 2016, and we have a couple of asterisks here. Worldwide, we were the second app in the world to use Office 365 single sign-on with OpenIE, with Open as our authentication to the platform. So those of you that log into an iPhone or an Android and use Facebook or LinkedIn or all of those different applications to open up other applications. Our audience today is made up of attorneys and paralegals. And so the single sign-on means that there is no password. It's the most secure way of working with a program that's a modern Outlook add-in. And why were we the second company in the world? Well, because Microsoft had a vision for the way we were transforming Office 365 into a platform designed for lawyers. And they said, look, if you can do this and show the market this type of modern authentication, we're going to start offering your product through distributors. So 2017, the next year, was a very big year. That was the year that Microsoft launched Microsoft Teams. And it was actually at the same time that Law Toolbox launched our Teams app. We're very proud of that. We really believed that Teams was going to be the place that people spend their day. We weren't predicting what was going to happen in our world at that point in time, but we embraced and launched at the same time of Teams. And Teams was launched, and very proud to say that when Microsoft really changed and modernized their Microsoft commercial marketplace platform, we were the top selling Microsoft Teams app, not in the legal space, but all up initially when that was launched. So very proud of that fact. So our audience, I said earlier, we're really designing this presentation today to talk to the managing partners, the associates, the paralegals. We will have some bits and pieces that address the IT folks on the phone. And just a little more background before we dive in. Today's session is really on enterprise docketing. All of our enterprise customers on the phone today have an accounting software. They have a DMS that they're using, and we are that third component, which is the docketing software. And initially in this slide, we talked about, in fact, I'm gonna back up, make sure that I've still got it. We talked about the market shifting from on-premise to cloud. And you know, as we've really been rethinking and rediscussing that, we realize that our clients in the enterprise space are both a combination of on-premise and they're in the cloud. Yes, there is this transition to bring more things to the cloud, but there's a component of this hybrid concept that our Microsoft 365 platform for the legal market leverages and embraces this idea of organizations that are hybrid, meaning they've got an on-premise exchange, but they've also leveraged Azure Active Directory to connect the two. So interestingly, when we talk about this, our product, we talk about ourselves as being an M365 platform that allows for both the experience with an on-premise backend that is connected via Azure Active Directory, but at the same time, we're bringing our product to where attorneys spend their day today and where they're going to spend it tomorrow. So when people say Office 365, where do attorneys work? Well, they work in Outlook on their client. They don't log into a cloud-based application. They're doing it on their local Outlook. And that's where our user experience for the audience today lives. And you'll see that here in a minute. And most importantly, we live in the Microsoft 365 cloud that client uses. We link to the DMS, we link to the accounting, one single point of entry. We're not creating matters, one at a time. It's all automated and connected. And so we think of ourselves as a platform in M365 and a platform that links products together so that you have one seamless experience. And then at our core, we are a docketing software. We embrace and enable the concept of centralized docketing, which is what we see in most larger enterprise law firm, where permissions are set so that only the centralized docketing folks have control to manage and create and manage matters and change rule sets and edit deadlines and move things around, 10 times as they're preparing for a depot. But we make it so intuitive that as new folks join, it's easy and simple and understandable. So think of our native cloud solution that started in 1998 as an application that brings native docketing to Outlook. And this center section of our slide is so, so important. And the concept is that law firms typically live in two clouds today. And the second cloud is a hybrid one, and that's Microsoft. The other cloud that they oftentimes live in is a cloud for their DMS. And those are usually the two clouds they have. When they onboard our docketing software, there's no new cloud. We live in their Microsoft 365 cloud. We made that strategic decision in 2013 when we launched our first Outlook add-in, and that was probably the most important decision that we made. And our traditional users, again, they're living in their Outlook on their desktop. So from that standpoint, while we call ourselves a cloud docketing solution for the enterprise space, we are leveraging their ability to work however they're most comfortable. So we're an umbrella platform We're built on top of M365 and Microsoft Teams, and we're used inside of their tenant. We're going to dive right in. I'm just going to highlight a couple of interesting key fun facts. Yesterday, we were included in the keynote for Microsoft's first ever commercial marketplace conference, and we were highlighted in that keynote as an application by the Charlotte Yarkoni, the president of e-commerce and ecosystems, as an application that is growing dramatically, a niche market for legal counsel that basically transforms Office 365, now called Microsoft 365 and Teams, into a platform that works very closely with your Microsoft partners that are helping and enable your product. So I've touched on all of these topics. This is what you're going to see in our demo today. Using our product in Outlook, Microsoft Teams, SharePoint. We're going to talk a little bit about planners. Search in Microsoft is a game changer. Leveraging Power Automate, connecting to all your applications, capturing time, and that data governance is going to come in at the end and is probably, that's the whole security play, and that's a very big part of what we do. So you're going to see a little bit about not just that the attorneys may be starting their journey in Outlook, but that they're shifting to experience Law Toolbox in Teams when they're ready, because we bring that chat feature for organizations that want to use the Teams experience. That's all different law firms can configure our solution however they would like. And so here's an outline of what we're going to cover. I'm going to hand it over to you, Dasha, and we're going to dive into what does it mean to create matters in Microsoft 365 with native docketing.
Thank you, Carolyn. I will share my screen here, and we will start our presentation in native Outlook, just because a lot of our clients spend time in their inboxes communicating with outside counsel clients. And we'll start first of all with the calendar. So right now we're looking at our inbox where an attorney user can pull up all of their active cases in Law Toolbox right here on the side panel. Our add-in is user open, so it doesn't automatically open when you first log into your Outlook. So your users will be able to select whether they want to go to dashboard, matters, or reports, and keep this application pinned as long as they want to. And then whenever they're done, they can close it out to continue working inside their Outlook. On the calendar side, Law Toolbox will populate deadlines for the people involved on the cases. So you'll see at the top of the screen here, we have all-day events for several of our cases that this particular attorney user is on, and they can simply open up any one of these entries to see more information of what this particular event may be. So they'll see the case, the deadline that is specific to that particular date, who created it, any of the rule references that will be included in here, as well as some of the time of day events. So later today, we have a deposition for one of our cases, and it looks like this one is a virtual meeting. So Law Toolbox helps generate this invite for everyone on the matter. It'll include the dial-in information provided by the court, or whether it's been generated by, internal processes. So here we have a Teams meeting with dial-in information and conference ID. All of that very important for everyone to have the same dial-in information when they're joining important meetings. So here we can jump into that particular meeting right here from our calendar. Perfect. So this brings me over to Microsoft Teams, and I will briefly touch on Law Toolbox for Teams, and we'll turn that back over to Carolyn in just a moment. So one of our matters that we've been working on, it automatically has a Teams channel. So we'll be able to jump, and instead of emailing with our associates and paralegals, we can go and transition into Teams for that internal collaboration. So we'll go dive into that a little bit more in a moment. So back over to you, Carolyn.
Okay. And so I just want to highlight, as I share my screen here, So one of the key things that is important is that our application allows attorneys to be able to be accessing everything within their Law Toolbox experience, not just on Macs and iPads, on their desktop, in their local Outlook client, but they can also see all of this exact same information on a mobile-friendly browser app that looks and feels as exactly like what you use within your Office 365. And most importantly, an end user can click on, for example, you can see in this first deadline on the phone, if your resolution is good enough, we've got the depot notice link. When that user is at a soccer game and they're looking looking ahead to their week, when they click on that depot notice, if that particular document is living in their DMS software, it's gonna launch them in, if they have access on mobile applications, to see that document, because they have rights to see that document. And everything is at their fingertips, whatever device they're on and wherever they are. So let's talk a little bit about a traditional docketing environment and experience. So a traditional docketing experience, we have centralized docketing clerks that are creating and editing deadlines and events. And they're doing this based on some automated rules that get forwarded to them from court filings, letting them know about trials. But they're also getting emails from all of the different people all over their law firm saying, can you calendar this? Can you calendar that? This has changed, that's changed. And with our system, you'll see that we also enable all of that same control and centralized management. Secondly, it is the docketing clerks that can access the reports. They've got the case deadline charts, the dashboards. They can go see history of changes. It is the docketing clerks that have access to that traditional software that can see that information. An attorney can request it, and then they can go create it, send it to them. But the attorneys don't have that information at their fingertips. Where do the attorneys and paralegals live? They live in their Outlook calendar, and they receive reports, perhaps a date range report or a report on request in their Outlook. So they're living and looking at their deadlines in their calendar and getting reports. So let's take a look at what we consider a new modern way of understanding and making that information more accessible and at the fingertips and fast for attorneys, while preserving that centralized management and control that docketing organizations need to maintain quality. So again, we still have only the central docketing clerks. When they open up their Outlook, they've got control to choose rule sets, manage deadlines, and we're going to run through some of that here in a minute, and edit items. But when we go down to the second layer, now it's not just the central docketing clerks that have access to these sometimes premise-based, generally a premise-based application to go and run reports, but now everybody can see what's unique to them. They have personalized matter dashboards showing them their matter list. They can drill into a case. They can drill into a deadline to see who updated what and when. They can start chatting. They can search. They can run all of the information without having to pick up the phone or send an email and wait for somebody to send their information. And this is very important because we were actually at a docketing event recently. The National Docketing Association was an amazing conference. And we were hearing that a lot of these docketing clerks work 10, 12-hour days regularly because they can't keep up. And so the concept is we do provide, because as you'll see throughout the session, a very easy user experience for backup folks to be able to manage. In crunch time, certain very trusted paralegals may be temporarily given rights to manage some calendaring when they need to back up for those centrally docketing folks. And that can be an evolution, and some organizations won't implement that. And then across the bottom layer, of course, everybody is still getting all of their deadlines in their Outlook, and they're getting all of those reports. It's just they can self-serve get them. And it's happening natively in real time. There's no processing because we do all the calendaring from Outlook. So, Dasha, I'm going to hand it back over to you to dig in a little bit about our rules-based calendaring and our robust reports and the dashboards and what the attorney experience is here. And I will stop sharing.
Perfect. So to get back to Law Toolbox in Outlook, you will see all of these matters that have been shared with this particular user. And you can see that each one of these follows rules of civil procedure, whether it's bankruptcy, family law, employment law, all of these will follow different rules. And you can see that right here. We have different cases in different jurisdictions, and that's what your docketing staff will be setting up for you. So that way, all of the calendaring that happens for individual matters will follow the rules that correspond with where those cases are. So let me switch over to our docketing user perspective for a moment and show you what Law Toolbox looks like for them. So here, they will be able to select a tool set. So for this example, I'm going to change a rule set for one of our matters since this one was set up as a sample. And to change the rule set, we'll be able to pull any different states where this case may be. So I'm going to go ahead and switch this to California. And in California, you'll be able to select from a number of different jurisdictions that this particular case may be in. Our system includes type ahead functionality, so I can just type for Los Angeles, and I can pick any one of our Los Angeles jurisdictions, whether it's a complex case or just a regular Superior Court civil case.
And just to add to that, Dasha, so all of the rules of procedure at the state court level, federal court, appellate level, whether it's family law, probate, whether it is administrative law, like if we were to choose DC, we see a bunch of trade type rules-based calendaring. So just about everything you can think of course, transactional calendaring related to real estate, related to, we have a rule set called basic calendaring where some of our, cases where there isn't actual need for rules-based deadlines. Bankruptcy, all of the different flavors, we're seeing a big increase in the bankruptcy rules, and a different case might flow in and out of all of these different scenarios, and you just toggle back and forth between the rule sets as that case evolves over time.
Absolutely. And our change rule set feature is really designed for going along with the case throughout all of its journey and the different court systems that it may end up in. So this case can go to appeals and it can come back to state court. So you have that functionality to change the rule set anytime you need to generate new deadlines that correspond with where your case is going. So to get back to the docketing component, now that I've changed my rule to be in Los Angeles, I can go ahead and type in one of the trigger dates to generate a calculation for what our case will do. So for this example, I'm going to go ahead and type ahead for trial, and we'll go ahead and set our trial date for next year. So this is going to be corresponding with the scheduling order, and we can go ahead and enter in our date. You can quickly see that it's about to calculate 80 deadlines. And all of this is going to follow the local rules, the California rules of civil procedure, and all of that is going to be taking into account any holidays, weekends, any of those important dates that may be impacting your deadlines. So here you can see we've generated all of the different mail options, all of the different filing dates that will be applicable for our trial date that's been set for August of next year. So from the docketing standpoint, your docketing staff will be able to calendar all of this, move and edit these deadlines as needed, and the attorneys will receive all of these dates on their calendar, as well as the robust reporting that I will show you in just a moment. So from here, a docketing staff can generate a report for this particular matter, so we can send a report to themselves for record purposes. They can send it to everyone on the matter. So whether it's 10 members working on this case or just 5, everyone will receive an email with the report for everything that's been calendared for this particular matter.
And, one of the things I'm noticing, I don't know if you did it on purpose, Dasha, but the motion seeking to amend complaint for punitive damage, notice that that's rolled from Thanksgiving. That's coming up. And the attorneys don't need to ask the central docketing clerks, how this moved, why did this land Everybody knows when they see it's rolled from, they understand, oh, that's a court holiday. So there's a lot of technology on the back end. And I think most of the folks on the phone are familiar with rules-based calendaring and the idea that all the mail rules are considered. When the courts change their rules, there's instant, immediate update. I mean, the reason that we were born in the cloud software is, way back in 1998 was because rules change all the time. The courts change the rules, the holidays change. I mean, look at Juneteenth that just came into play. That moves deadlines on big cases. And it is the duty of these attorneys to try to stay up to speed on all of this. And that's why we're cloud. That's why these, if the courts change the rules and everybody's getting ready for that December 1 timeframe when a lot of federal court rules are all lined up and about ready to change, and we're going to instantly reflect those. When attorneys, whether, here we're looking at Law Toolbox, as Dasha mentioned, from the cloud-based version, whether we're doing it from a browser, this is single sign-on enabled through Office 365, whether we're doing it on our iPhone inside of Outlook because we're an attorney and we're not toggling to a website, or from inside Teams, from inside the Matter team, any of those places we can get our work done. It just happens to be, where we are at that point in time. And of course, one of the biggest things we hear from our customers is we don't want to get all of the deadlines. We want to be able to set preferences once and have those defaults remembered so that we don't get hit with all of these extra deadlines that perhaps we don't always need. So our court rules and administrative law and transactional rules can all be set with defaults, where those rules-based calendaring items can be customized based on that organization. So you can obviously selectively add and change deadlines that get updated, or you can run those on a case-by-case basis.
Absolutely. And to Carolyn's point, you can see that all of the deadlines that we have selected in the checkbox are going to be what's going to be as part of our report. So from here, we can further customize what we want to include in the report we share with our staff or outside parties. We'll be able to modify and kind of tailor that report to what the needs are for whoever is receiving it. So let me switch to the reports and show you what those would look like for our attorney users. So we have multiple different types of reports, and the ones I'm going to focus on today are going to be a case-specific report. So for any new matters that have important deadlines that recently were calendared, you want to see a nice report of everything that's happening for one particular matter. So I'm going to go ahead and show you another report here. So right here we have our Madrid matter, and you'll see all of the deadlines that have been calendared for this particular case. You'll see any ones that have a specific appointment. You'll include the time and the location of this one. So you'll see this one's a virtual meeting, and it includes the link to the virtual meeting right here as well. And you'll also see all of the rules that govern those particular deadlines. So whether it's a court-driven deadline, so you'll see the CRC and CRCP deadlines included here, as well as any specific documents that your staff will be associating where the judge extends or modifies those deadlines that are state governed.
Exactly. And then now, so what you're looking at is just strictly docketing that's not integrated with your DMS. So now I want you to just imagine for a minute that this report is sprinkled in with all of the file documents and or draft documents that are now taking your DMS system, and it's bringing basically a map of a time frame into these reports, into your iPhone. When you're looking at that deadline, you have a link not just to your DMS system that contains the documents you need for that depot, but also the rule that governs it and the link to the Teams meeting or the Zoom meeting or the WebEx meeting that you need because your client, you follow whatever products your client's asking you to use for those meetings. So yes, thank you, Dasha. And as part of our onboarding, we basically, every ounce of data that we collect is exportable into Excels, can be searched and sliced and diced with hashtags. You can customize hashtags to run reports of all the cases set for trial, all the cases containing these worlds, all the cases containing these hashtags, and really drill in and see all of the different, who's working on what cases across an organization, across an attorney's practice, across a case type. All of that can be run and pulled through reports, and we make sure those are all handy and onboarded for you as you get started. So let's talk a little bit about, I'll go ahead and screen share, and let's talk about the next part of what we want to cover here. So so we've talked about reporting. I think we did show the attorney dashboard that shows up saying, here's all my upcoming deadlines for the next 4 days, and people can click in and go check out the full report, what cases were recently worked on. And next, what we want to talk about is a little bit more deeper dive into managing and assigning those deadlines. This whole remote work makes it so much more important to know who's working on what without like walking down the hall and saying, hey, Sheila, where are we on those depots? All of this can be, real-time updated in whether you're using Planner to do, a beautiful view and control and management of your deadlines, or whether you're updating them with just simple assignments and leveraging Power Automate to take the certain types of deadlines and tasks and build and drive more work. We talked a little bit about the linking, and what I am so excited to talk about and is this idea of templatizing the law firm or the case type experience inside of Microsoft Teams. So very proud to have been invited, our company to be invited on Microsoft's main stage in front of 50,000 people, announcing our umbrella platform pre-configured with all of the Microsoft third-party apps lawyers need to manage their legal matters. So we took the concept of templatized teams beyond just a templatized channel structure. Perhaps there is or is not a folder structure because our templates may be tying to the DMS system that organization's using, but we may be bringing in e-signature for one type of a matter type. Perhaps that applies to the real estate matters. And we might be bringing in maybe the MLS listing, and for a different type of a practice, we might be bringing in, a Thomson Reuters or a LexisNexis or a fast case legal research platform for some of their legal matters. So we're very excited to have been invited to do that, and we're going to see a little bit about what that looks like as we talk about not just matter chat, but Teams templates, and then diving in and controlling those deadlines a little bit. So I'm going to pass it back over to you, Dasha.
Thank you, Carolyn. So now let's talk a little bit more about Teams and how that connects within your Office 365 environment for a matter-driven world. So for this specific example, what I want to show you is, for example, we have a matter that's been already calendared, already in our system, already shared with the right user. And this is that Teams chat function that I wanted to show you earlier. So here, we can jump into a Teams chat for our matter, and it's going to take us directly to that particular matter within our Teams environment. So if you have hundreds of teams or just a couple, this will take you right to the right place. And you will see the post section here, so you can start collaborating with your colleagues. And you can call out anyone who is working on that particular matter, so you can ask them for documents or depot dates that are coming up. And we also have the chatbot functionality within LawToolBox. So for everyone who's on this matter, they'll be able to get analytics and insights specifically from that particular case that's already in LawToolBox. So let's take a step back and look a little bit further at this particular team that we have. So this team already includes all of our paralegals and associates and all of the members who are working on this case. So everyone who is part of this team was selected by the docketing users to be a part here, and you can obviously add additional people if you hire new staff or manage those team members instantly, and they'll automatically receive everything that's been done for this particular case. The channels that you'll see on the left-hand side, those are generated by Law Toolbox, and we can set up templates for different types of cases that we have, whether it's employment law or tax law or bankruptcy. You will want to have different types of teams to reflect the different collaboration needs for those particular groups. And you can customize those within Law Toolbox. And when we create the team, you simply get to choose what type of case this is to auto-populate all of this information. And that includes all of the tabs at the top here. So you'll be able to add any third-party apps to collaborate within this matter. So this is what we announced with Bregu at the Microsoft event. And next thing that I want to highlight is the tasks and planners that we see a lot of people start to implement. So you can see we have a litigation checklist at the top here. And this right here is going to be our tasks and planner for Microsoft. And you can see we have a pre-filled litigation checklist that we can templatize and transfer from matter to matter. So that way everyone knows exactly some of those checklist items that we can have as part of this type of case and who we want to assign those when we want to put those due dates in and include individual members on those particular events. And then last but not least, you'll see Law Toolbox tab at the top, and this right here will take you directly to that matter that's already been calendared. And instead of going through all of the cases you're involved with, this will take you directly into that particular case, right where you want to see the most important information for exactly what we have.
And I love seeing the calendar view. And so when we're looking at, this is that whole full circle experience. And see all of these buttons that we're seeing in what we call the action menu. Every one of these is customizable and set to be turned on or off depending on how that organization is deploying our solution. And if you scroll up 2 buttons where we see documents, this documents is the workspace or the matter site that your DMS is pointing your documents to. So everything is customizable based on the need. And when we click the calendar view, this is where we see a day, week, month view calendar of what's going on in our case. So it's this whole idea of full circle, bringing that user experience completely into where people are spending their day as they start to transition. If we pop back over into Outlook, I'd love to take a quick look. Thanks for showing us the planner. And what we also see a lot of our clients doing when they open up a matter and they have a deadline that's really important. They want to assign it to somebody. They want to mark it as urgent. These are the rule-driven deadlines that Law Toolbox is generating based on the civil rules of procedure. So we're going to pop into a deadline and we're going to go ahead and assign it to somebody. We're going to mark it as urgent, and we're going to see how that updates automatically for everybody to see. So we can simply add the initials of who we'd like to be handling that hiring of that expert witness. We can mark that item as urgent, and then that's going to update everywhere for everybody. We can add a link to the draft document if we'd like to. So we'll mark it as urgent. We're going to say that Dasha is going to be in charge. Oh, Kate's going to do it, not Dasha. So Kate's going to go suggest the expert witnesses. And I don't know if we want to add any document links here. We can do that in another section, but we can. Now this is obviously displaying SharePoint, and we can, if we had some documents here, we could go link and grab those documents and save them with one single click. If we're using a DMS, of course, we're just showing it to you from a SharePoint perspective. All of that is configured so that you can update and see that information. So when we go ahead and click save, now everybody involved in that case now sees that Kate's working it. It's updated on all reports, all deadline charts, all date range reports. It's marked as urgent. Kate knows, and it's real time for all to see. And this information getting pulled, as people begin to really leverage all of the value that products like Planner and To Do bring to the table. Our entries can pivot there. So we're going to quickly create a team. And this is, so some clients onboard our product where teams get automatically created. Others choose to create a team as that case is approaching trial. And the team knows who's working on the case because in Law Toolbox we've done that. And so when we do this, we're going to create our team's template. So we're not showing you the nitty-gritty of it on the back end, but we have an admin portal where you can create a bunch of different templates for, practice type med mal or civil litigation or class actions or whatever. We've got just one example called Template B, but this is looking to what are the apps that are needed, who's on the matter, and what are the channels that we want to have show up. And so that team was just created. I can pin the channels that I want to see, and it's building out those channels right now. And the next part of this, and I know we want to save enough time for Q&A. So this is where everybody's asking themselves about data governance and sharing files with clients and capturing time. So let me, I'm going to just let Dasha, did you want to show something else before I dive in, or? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So we've looked at replacing emailing back and forth and with chats and Teams templates. We've looked at assigning deadlines and events and having them update everywhere real time. And next, we're not going to dive in and show you all of these features, but we are very excited about but the combination of leveraging the external file sharing experiences that come with our DMS partners, as well as providing the ability to simply click file share and share a folder to a client so that in this new modern world, you and your client have a real-time multi-factor authenticated SharePoint backend enabled way to share files. Or if you're using your DMS to do that, we can help enable and point your client, your folks to leverage that. Time capture is a very new, exciting feature that we're excited to talk about. I'm going to shoot forward on the next slide. So in the time capture, the concept is that we have a new timer that automatically captures time spent in matters that appear on your calendar, and we have timers that can be started, and you can leverage all the ABA rate codes and bring them into your systems. We know most of our clients already have time capture, but sometimes augmenting is some things that we've seen some of our enterprise clients exploring. And this takes us to security and data governance. That's probably the #1 topic of the day, especially in enterprise. And we talked earlier about LawToolBox doesn't bring a new cloud. We don't. We live in the security that comes with your Microsoft 365. But what we also do is we configure the data governance and retention policies, either natively using your Microsoft 365, or as we see many of the enterprise players, we're connecting to the already enabled third-party governance apps that you're using today, which play into the Microsoft data governance, which we leverage because we live in your Microsoft cloud. So whether that means setting chats for one-to-one or one-to-many to automatically be deleted or archived after a certain number of days or weeks, or treating the posts that are matter related differently because whether that organization believes that chatting related to the matter in that chat thread is there may be different plans for targeting certain posts to save and automatically removing many of those at certain timeframes. That can all be governed. That's the key, because it lives in your environment. Of course, the files, you may be using a DMS and you want those files that you're working on and collaborating on in SharePoint, because SharePoint is the backend to Teams. You want those to have a certain records retention. So we live within those governance rules that we help you implement and help you connect to your existing systems. We talked about us auto-provisioning the team for a matter and reflecting all of the governance that I just discussed. We also, in every single client that we onboard, we are regularly attaching to the teams that have already been created by that firm for some, forward-leaning folks in their organization that have dove in and started using Teams to collaborate as they're preparing for trials and depots. So we can attach to a team that's pre-existing. We can be the engine that provisions the team, or we can be the receiver of the team's provisioning services that some of you are looking at implementing. And the last and most important is that because we're built on top of M365, we inherit every single security setting that your IT staff configure. We can't override any of those settings. What they put in place, we live within. If there's a security setting that prevents our app from doing something, it pops up a message saying you don't have access. We, of course, we of course work through all of that within our onboarding, and we don't bump into that. But the key thing to know is that the IT shops are especially comforted in knowing that they're not implementing a separate new platform. They're leveraging the platform that they're controlling and protecting every day, along with the investments that Microsoft invests in protecting your client's data. So with that, we're not going to demo, but advanced search is incredibly powerful. We can do, the most complex Boolean searches that you can imagine that touch everything in your Office 365 environment that you have access to. So yes, we know search within your DMS is critical because that's where, the final repository of everything is. But supplementing that with the advanced search across your deadlines and your docketing, but also across everything that you as an individual have permission to see. Imagine the power of the attorneys being able to check, all of their email inbox for certain words and certain words inside of those documents. We just leverage all that OCR capability that comes with Microsoft. We of course couldn't have resisted the ability to leverage the contacts that come from Outlook and be able to assign contacts by matters. So many of our clients have separate systems for that, and they may turn that feature off. And of course, the data insights that we make available for clients to pull into their systems is a critical piece. The same control window that you see with the dashboard, matters and reports, files, contacts. You see these action menu items everywhere in Outlook, on your iPhones, wherever you are. If you have access to that information, you can search it. Also very proud to talk about, yesterday we were in another presentation. I was invited to be with Greg Goldkamp, the Director of Worldwide ISV Strategy and Execution, to talk about how we are going and reaching global markets. And we're doing that through partners. We are, unlocking the power of leveraging a big partner like Microsoft. And especially thrilled that just 2 months ago, we made it onto a Satya Nadella keynote. Lots of big things happening at Law Toolbox, and we are very excited. And we think it all just really began with our decision back in 2013 to be kind of a trailblazer and be one of those very first Outlook add-ins. Today, we leverage everything you see on the screen and we live within it, with the exception of Yammer. This is what we are made of. This is what native Law Toolbox docketing consists of. So what does it take to implement Law Toolbox? You just need Office 365. That's all it takes. We don't run into very many law firms in those AmLaw 100s that are not already transitioning towards hybrid exchange, whether that just happened or it's scheduled in 6 months and it's getting tested in small groups. We're finding folks are there as long as you have hybrid exchange, as long as you use Microsoft Office, whether it's on your desktop apps or on a Mac. Law Toolbox works, and there are no other server or software requirements or installation requirements. And that's really the beauty of making it easy for any organization that is interested to onboard a pilot and or take to go live within 60 minutes. It's really 3 things. First, our clients can import their deadlines for a pilot if they want to. Maybe those deadlines live in a docketing program. Maybe they lived in a shared Outlook calendar. We do all of them. But they don't need to import those deadlines because the deadlines are already probably been pushed to Outlook, and LawToolBox just becomes that new engine bringing them in. It just depends on what that organization is interested in. But the key is that nobody's creating matters in LawToolBox. Those matters get created from the DMS or potentially the accounting platform. And what does it take to deploy LawToolBox? Well, there is not an install. We do sometimes use that word, but it's truly a toggling from left to right of our app inside the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, the same place that your IT folks are enabling a new mailbox. Same exact location is where they enable our application. So yes, we began the journey with Microsoft, as we talked about early in the slide, as a through and through partner where our product doesn't just live in their platform, but it's sold by Microsoft. Thank you very much for joining us, and we're thrilled to have you here today and look forward to sharing more about next steps. And please don't hesitate to reach out. Please contact us at support@lawtoolbox.com, and thank you for your time.